Well, Jeff, they have the easiest schedule. Really. If you're banking on this team to have a successful year or just sneak into the postseason, you're banking on a team that's one of the youngest in the NFL. So the inexperience and the unpredictability.
They're in the conversation of a team that could contend. The offense is going to be what makes this team gel. And look, I'm sorry, Jared Goff is no bum. So yeah, they may be the youngest roster in the NFL. It's not setting off the alarms. Jeff, the Lions have the youngest roster in the NFL.
They do.
Concern?
No, if anything, this just reminds me, and maybe reminds a lot of other people, that I think chill on the expectations a little bit. People who are coming out saying 10, 11 win team. This is the issue. When you have a young team like this, not only the unpredictable, but you look at the inexperience too. Like learning how to close games. You got Jared Goff. That's the great sign. But defensively especially, to have guys like Jeff Okudah now not playing a lot of career games, being really a starter this year, Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris coming off a great season, but can he repeat that? Like, there's a lot of things you're going to have to rely on. Does Aleem McNeil take the next step? There's a lot of things I'm going to be watching this year for the Detroit Lions, even the receiving core as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, second year. So I get it. This is an exciting team. There's a lot of talent on this team around Jared Goff. Defensively, you have some questions, but definitely offensively, there is a lot of talent. But the fact of the matter is this team is young. There's still a lot of things. There's still a growing process. I'm not saying they're going to suck this year. But if they win 6 games, 7 games, to me, that's still a success. You pretty much have doubled your win total from the previous year. And I get it. Well, Jeff, they have the easiest schedule. Really. It's based on last year's predictions. So if you're talking about what teams got better, I don't think it'd be as easy as listed. So when I first see this, the youngest team, Adam, it's good because it tells me that you're building from the foundation. You drafted all these players. Malcolm's going to make a start this year. He's a rookie. Amon-Ra starting. He's a second-year player. Kirby Joseph's going to be playing. He's a rookie. Like, there's a lot of young guys that are going to be playing this year. We'll see what Josh Paschal does when he gets back. But honestly, the only 2 things I took away from seeing this, Adam, is one, there's going to be some games where you kind of scratch your head and you're going to be able to blame the inexperience on this team. But another thing is, it just reminds me, and maybe it reminds of a lot of other people, that if you're banking on this team to have a successful year or just sneak into the postseason, you're banking on a team that's one of the youngest in the NFL. So that's the thing you have to consider. The inexperience and the unpredictability, really, are the 2 things I took from seeing that initial, the Lions are the youngest team or one of the youngest teams.
So the difference between the NFL and, let's say, the NBA is if you field the youngest roster in the NBA, you're probably tanking.
Right.
And if you field one of the younger rosters in the NFL, it's not necessarily a sign that you're going to tank.
Right.
You may be early in the process, and that's kind of where I have the Lions right now. I think they're early. Next year is the year I think we can sit up here and have a conversation and say, again, based on a few factors that I've gone over way too many times, you guys know the deal here. If Dan Campbell is what you believe or want him to be, if Jared Goff can play to the level you expect him to play, given Ben Johnson and his creativity and his control on the offense, you're going to show improvement this year. This is not a 3-win football team this year.
No.
Absolutely is not. It is not a 4-win football team. And I would even argue this is not a 5-win football team. And I would consider that a very bad season. You should win 7 games. And going into next season, the conversation we need to be having, Jeff, is they could be on the outside looking in at the division title, given Green Bay, Minnesota. We'll see what happens this season. Mm-hmm. But you know what? They're in the conversation of a team that could contend. You sit there right now, the Packers have won 13 games for the last 3 years, Jeff, no? The Vikings this year, though, the conversation we have, including me, obviously I have them winning the division, but regardless, the Vikings will contend for the NFC North. I don't think many people would even disagree with that. Next year, the conversation must be, can the Lions contend for the division? They don't have to win it, quote. They don't have to. Where if they don't win it, you're out. In the NFL, it's every 3 years. It's a cycle. You should win. You should be able to. But context matters. And I don't want to go 32, 34 games ahead of time when we haven't even played game 18 under Dan Campbell. So I'm not going to do that this morning. But what I am going to do is tell you where you need to be. Because that's where the teams that are looking to improve, I don't know, dare I say win, they're improving. And it's showing not on the roster only, on the field. Yeah, you have a few down seasons. It's happened. All right? Yes, you can point to Zach Taylor last year, going 10-7, winning the division, going to a Super Bowl. You can point to all the stuff you want. At the end of the day, that's not a 3-win football team this year. It's 6 wins at worst, and you better have some damn good context for that to happen.
Right.
In my opinion, it's a 7, probably 8-win football team. I don't really care if they're the youngest in the NFL. It's not just the schedule. It is the offense. The offense is going to be what makes this team gel. The question we're going to have on most Monday mornings, did the defense cost them the game? And if they did, that's going to be a problem. You want to point to defense being too young, inexperienced? Fair point. I can live with that. But with this offense, the weapons they have, the ability they have, the offensive line they have, the offensive coordinator they have. And look, I'm sorry, Jared Goff is no bum. He's an average quarterback in the NFL. And my definition of average, you can look at Ryan Tannehill, a Kirk Cousins.
you can still win
These
with
guys
average.
can give you something. It's
Right.
not like he's going to go out there and you have to kind of pull back the reins a little bit because, you know what, he's going to lose us the game if we let him go. No, that's not the case. So, yeah, they may be the youngest roster in the NFL. It's not setting off the alarms, given, again, I share a lot of optimism going into the season. I like to look at this team as a team that'll be a pain in the ass to play against. I don't think age is going to deter me from saying, yeah, they're going in the right direction. Now it's time to win football games.
And I think the bigger thing to take away, and you brought up the Bengals had a very, very young offense, and they still had success. So I think when you look at youth, in my opinion, it affects guys on defense more than offense. Like, you know, you look at Aiden Hutchinson. I think he'll have 9.5 sacks this year, but there's still a lot of things he's going to have to adjust to in the NFL, just in general, going up against different offensive linemen, especially the Eagles in Week 1. But for me, defensively is more questions about the youth part of it. Because if you look at, like, you know, Amon-Ra St. Brown being in his second year, that doesn't concern me, man. Like, he's going to be just fine. Like, especially, you look at the Bengals, T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd was really the only, I guess, I wouldn't even say veteran receiver, but he was an older receiver than T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. But those guys still got the job done. Joe Burrow, second-year player, still got the job done. So, and I'm not saying Jared Goff's Joe Burrow, don't get me wrong, but what I am saying is offensively, having youth doesn't concern me as much because there are veterans as well. You got a veteran offensive lineman. You have a tight end who's been in the league for multiple years. Like, that, it's not really concerning. Defensively is where my concern is because there's already a void of talent. There's already holes on this defense. But the guys you are relying on are young players. Can I rely on Jeff Okudah? Can I count on Jeff Okudah from a game-to-game basis? I don't know yet. I still have to figure that out. Aiden Hutchinson, I think I can rely on him. I think he's going to be very reliable because of his motor. He's never going to stop coming, man. Like, that's a guy that I don't really have to question too much. But what about a Lee McNeil? What about a Levi Ozarike? What about Kirby Joseph when he starts playing snaps? What about Will Harris? Like, these guys, Amani Awari, I have no questions about. But it all kind of goes back to that youth, part of it on defense. But we'll see. I mean, the biggest thing, and I have them at, and we'll get to it. I'm not going to spoil it. We're going to do our NFC North record predictions. But right now, where the Lions go is based on their defensive line and their offensive line. I've been saying that. If you can run the ball and you can get after the quarterback, it's going to make everything a lot more easier. But what I do feel is how their season goes up and down is going to be dependent on that defense as well. Because people talk about that offense. Man, shiny weapons on offense. Jared Goff, not saying he's a shiny weapon, but Jared Goff can at least win you games. And they say, you know what? This is a 9-10 win football team. In my opinion, if you're looking at one side of the football, you're doing it wrong. I mean, and listen, I want to have this conversation. I know people at our network are saying that too, but you got to count on this defense in some big games against some good teams. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But youth, in my opinion, has more effect defensively, in my opinion.
Fair play. Fair play on the defensive side of the ball. I won't argue much there. What I would say is, in the NFL, you typically walk in as a rookie, and most really good players, they show it right away. This team has a few rookies, one of which was the number 2 overall pick, who I think we both expect to make a run for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I do, yeah.
And probably be this team's leading pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
On the defensive side of the ball, the one thing that will absolutely trump any age, any quote ability in the secondary, any issues, concerns you may have at linebacker, there's one thing that'll trump all of it and make it all look better. And that is that defensive line playing well.
That's it right
there. You get the interior to help support the run game and stopping the run. And you get Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris. You get your edge players to get pressure after the quarterback, sack the quarterback. You don't finish bottom 3, bottom 4 in the league. You finish somewhere near the middle, maybe even top 18, top 20. Oh, that's a significant jump in improvement. So if you go from 32nd in pass rush to 22nd, hell, let's say 19th, wouldn't your defense statistically be better? And wouldn't that inherently improve your secondary? What were they, 32nd and 31st in total defense last year?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be that way this year. And if it is, that's a tough one.
And the thing you at least have going for you as a Lions fan is, yes, you can talk about how young this defense is, but that means they're going to get better. So at least they're not a finished product right now, but that's the reality of this year. They're still very, very young. So it's going to be some inconsistencies, but, listen, last year that defense, although statistically they were terrible, there were some games where they kept them in it by themselves. But we'll see. I think it'll be offense this year that really has the biggest effect.